You are listening to WTUZ Radio Podcast. Welcome to WTUZ Radio Podcast. I am your host, Rhonda. And today's topic, we will discuss the love factor. Now, I was thinking about doing this topic. I've been going back and forth with it. And of course, the pagan holiday, Valentine's Day, which was earlier this week, the start of the week, prompted me to want to put out the topic. And then I was seeing on Facebook, shout out to Brother Sean, he put out a profound post. And I told him, oh, wow, I was just thinking about doing a show on this. This post sums it up pretty well. Okay. So I went back and forth on whether or not to do it. And then I saw other people posting things regarding love. So I decided to, go ahead and put this topic out because there's so much emphasis placed on love and the whole entire universe vibrational perspective has a huge factor on what love should be. But what folks are categorizing as love, is it really love? So let's go over a few things first. So, of course, how we like to get started, we like to go to the root of the particular word using the etymology dictionary. So, love, described as a noun, Old English Luffy. Feeling of love, romantic sexual attraction, affection, friendliness, the love of God, love as an abstraction or personification. From Proto-Germanic or Germanic, Lubo, source of an old High German Lubi, meaning joy. Okay, so it just goes to the different, that's interesting. Another German interpretation called Lob. That's interesting. So basically, the word love, the enunciation of it really came from German Lob, but it meant praise. Okay, and then Dutch called it lief. That's interesting. So almost like life. Very, very interesting. Okay, and then in Gothic, they call it liefs with an F, plural, which meant dear beloved. And then the German word from pi root or librier, I'm just going to say lib, which meant to care, desired, loved. And then it also says the weakened sense, liking, fondness was in Old English, meaning a beloved person, is from the early 13th century. The sense, no score. Okay, that's tennis. Yeah, we know that. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, let me see what else we can get out of this. And then they go down to fall in love is attested from early 15th century. To be in love with someone is from the 15th century. To make love is from the 1570s in the sense pay enormous attention to. Interesting. As a euphemism for having sex. it is attested from the 1950s. Love affair, a particularly experience of love, is from the 1590s. Love life, one's collective activities, is from the 1919, originally a term in psychological jargon. Okay, Love Beads is from the 1968. Love Bug and Imaginary Insects is from the 1883. Okay, Love Handles, the fat on one side. Well, damn, that comes into play in 1967. Okay, so that's the noun. Okay, so the verb, the action definition is Old English Luthean. Okay, so that's close to love from a enunciation perspective. Excuse me. Old English Luthean, to feel, love for, cherish, show love to, delight in, approval. Okay, and then a weakened sense of like, attested. That was in the 12th century. In transensitive sense, be in love, have a passionate attachment. That's from the 13th century. To love someone up, make out with, is from 1921. To love and leave is from 1885. All right, so I just wanted to give a quick glimpse into the etymology of the word love to kind of give you the different origins. All right, so with that start, let's kind of look at from a psychology perspective on what is love. Okay, so this is from Psychology Today. What is love and what isn't? Once you know what it is, you can recognize and pursue it. Love is a force of nature, however much we may want to. We cannot command, demand, or take away love any more than we can command the moon and the stars and the wind and the rain to come and go according to our whims. We may have some limited ability to change the weather, but now that's interesting that they even said that. We may have some limited ability to change the weather. That's deep on many levels, from an esoteric and a weather modification perspective. I'm just saying. What year was this written? In 2011. But we do so at the risk of upsetting an ecological balance we don't fully understand. Similarly, we can stage a seduction or mount a courtship, but the result is more likely to be infatuation or two illusions dancing together than love, right? And particularly, we're going to get a little deeper into this statement because I think they hit this one right out the park, where what is being categorized as love today, and I'm speaking on romantic love, but we're also going to get into other aspects or categories of love. So meaning from parent to child, child to parent, as well as friendship love as well. But from a romantic standpoint, we can stage a seduction or mount a courtship, but the result is more likely to be infatuation or two illusions dancing together than love. Love is bigger than you are. You can invite love, but you cannot dictate how, when, or where love expresses itself. You can choose to surrender to love or not. Be in the end. Love strikes like lightning, unpredictable and irrefutable. You can even find yourself loving people you don't like at all. Love does not come with conditions. This is where we get into the heavy stuff. Love does not come with conditions, stipulations, addendas or codes. Like the sun, love radiates independently of our fears and desires. Whoa. Just those two sentences alone are really, really heavy hitting. If we think about all of our relationships, so that means cross from romantic love involvement all the way down to family members and friendship. How many of those relationships are conditional? How many of those relationships have agendas or stipulations? Love is inherently free. Okay? Reminds me of a dance song from the 90s, but I think it's older than that, but we repurposed it, a remix. It's a song, My Love is Free. It cannot be bought, sold, or traded. You cannot make someone love you, nor can you prevent it, not for any amount of money. Love cannot be imprisoned, nor can it be legislated. Love is not a substance, not a commodity, not even a marketable power source. Love has no territory, no borders, no quantable mass or energy output. Okay, now I disagree with the energy output because everything has energy. All right, but I get their general point. One can buy sex partners, and even marriage partners. Is that hitting on or stepping on some toes? If folks really, really, really analyze their relationships, and specifically, this is the romantic part. You can buy a sex partner and even a marriage partner. Marriage is a matter for the law, for rules and courts and property rights. I'm going to say that again. That's why those that are legally, and y'all can't see me using the quotation marks, married, that's why you have to get a license, because it is a contract. It is a business contract. So marriage is a matter for the law, for rules and courts and property rights. Okay? Now, of course, we can get into all of that, but let me finish reading these couple sentences and then I'll expound on that a little bit more. In the past, the marriage price or dowry, and in the present, alimony and the prenuptial agreement make it clear that marriage is all about contracts. So shout out to this article for admitting these points. All right. Marriage from a legal perspective, it's all about contract. But as we all know, marriages, whether arranged or not, may have little to do with love. All right. Now, those of you that are familiar, particularly, I'm speaking of the Asian Indian cultures. I know from some extent they used to do this in some African nations. I'm not sure if they still do. But I know for a fact in the Asia Indian cultures, they still do arranged marriages. Okay? So in other words, you got to have your coins together. Your family has to be of a certain status background in order to be matched up with a certain partner, that literally still goes on today. Okay. Now, where did that concept come from? Particularly, we know that it came from the European system. All right. Now, I did a podcast on a show called Bridgerton, and that entire particular show, which is on Netflix, which is entertaining, man, I'm going to give you a warning. You're going to feel it's soap opera-ish. But women, you're really going to like it. You're really going to like it. You're going to enjoy it. But the whole premise of that show, it's about family status, marriages, and contracts. Okay? So that whole entire deal of marriage being driven by contracts, it is a European notion. And it was for the purpose of keeping the wealth and these empires together. It was all about making sure that there are heirs, proper heirs to the empire, and making sure that these marriages, these legal contract agreements, were being gone into with equal footing. So meaning making sure they're marrying people in the proper class. Okay, because this whole system about class and, oh shoot, what do you call it over in India? The caste. Over in India, it's called the caste system, which it's still heavily used in India today. The caste system. Okay, but over in Europe, it's class system, and we all know that the Americas are using the Europeans' culture and laws. Okay. All right. So, in other words, love had very little to do with the contract. And that show, Bridgerton, showed that, where the young women who wanted to get married, they really wanted love. They wanted both security and love. Okay. And the French, they are known for, okay, this is the arranged marriage, but it's almost like common practice over in France to have a mistress, or what we call today the side chick and the side dude, because women do it as well. In France, that's just a known thing. You do your thing, I do my thing, but this contract, this marriage contract, that stands. So that's why when it's time to get a divorce in France, it is a huge deal. It's a big deal. And they fight down to the knife, honey, over those assets. Although I'm not saying that don't happen in the Americas, because that happens as well. Folks get really, really nasty when it's coming down to the divorce. But it's really, really the case in France. And hence why the marriage rates, and I haven't checked lately, this was years ago, why their divorce rate was low. Folks just stay together because they have that contract, and they have, years and years and generations worth of assets and all of that jazz, that they just don't want to go through the trouble to try to split that stuff up. So each particular husband and wife, they're happy with having a side pieces. Okay, what they call today side pieces. So, sexual stimulation and gratification, whether by the way of fingers, mouths, objects, fantasy play, whips and chains, or just plain intercourse can certainly be bought and sold, not to mention used to sell other things. Whether sex should be for sale is another question entirely, but love itself cannot be sold. Now, interestingly enough, this is true tea. Sexual stimulation and gratification. So they went on to name the various ways that can be bought and sold. And going back to some of these European countries, I know France is one of them. Prostitution, that's not looked down upon in that nation. As a matter of fact, years ago, I want to say it was in the 90s. I want to say it was late 90s. When I took a trip over to Paris, they would literally have, like, on late at night, just regular old porn. I didn't know that. You just turn on the TV. You're like, oh, okay, that's how y'all rolling in France. We do know in Amsterdam that prostitution is legal. We also know here in the States that in Nevada, that prostitution is legal, right? And we all know that the truth of the matter is prostitution is one of the oldest business-making ventures. That the madams back up in the day, they were getting paid. They were some of the first business women, the madams. Okay? So this article is making a very, very honest point. That there is a difference between sex and love. Okay? And we're going to get into that a little bit more. All right, so one can buy loyalty, companionship, attention, and perhaps even compassion, but love itself cannot be bought. An orgasm can be bought, but love cannot. It comes or not by grace of its own will and its own timing, subject to no humans planning. Love cannot be turned on as a reward. It cannot be turned off as punishment. Only something else pretending to be love can be used as a lure, as a hook for bait and switch. To listen to this episode in its entirety, go to anchor.fm/WTUZ radio. Again, that's anchor.fm/WTUZ radio. And the link is in the description. Thank you and peace and love.